Usopp, who adheres to the inheritance of Go Dao, should not have taken the initiative to provoke Brother Ming, a big man who straddles black and white. Moreover, it is actually a very irresponsible act to lead it to the village, and Usopp cannot fully control the situation except for the pitiful control of the original book. What choices each person's personality makes under what circumstances, betting that others will follow certain established principles, is not very reliable. Especially in the face of such a moody pirate, it is not surprising that any idea suddenly arises. After realizing his arrogance a few days ago, he also regretted it for a few days, but regret was useless at this time, so he readjusted his mentality, and this is the end of the matter. I can only follow my brain-dead plan, try to smooth things out, and get this place back on track. Oh, it's going to be trouble again. Usopp swept when he saw it, and the situation on the other side was clear in his chest. It turned out to be these two goods, and Brother Ming did not come. Usopp turned his thoughts, and he was right. He was just a nameless and gasless little man in the East China Sea. If this little thing let him, the big man of the New World, come in person, then Brother Ming might be busy to death. And sending these two main combat forces over, in fact, it can already be seen that Brother Ming attaches great importance to this matter. After all, it is not a small amount of money, plus the situation of the enemy is not clear. In the case of the enemy is secret, sending this combat power is also decent, and it cannot be a big mistake. Diamante and Pika. These two people say that they are not strong or not weak, and they are not too weak when they are weak, just as a stepping stone for me, a pirate elementary school student, to practice courage, by the way, to see what position I am in. Very good. And whether you can fight or not, you don't seem to have room to escape. What if you run away from the townspeople behind? Usopp once again gave a thumbs up for his brain damage. The next time you do something, it's better to live with your brain. You can't rely too much on selfless killing, and it's too self-interested to consider problems in that realm. Everything is only thinking for their own survival and interests, and other people's feelings, lives, and interests can be sacrificed and calculated at will for themselves in that realm. It's really contrary to my original intention. Usopp, who was sitting on the edge of the cliff waiting for the fleet to dock, was reflecting on his gains and losses while staring at the opposite side with a look of sight. Usopp originally wanted to turn on his unique domineering wireless and inform Kia Leosha and the others, so that they should stay at home today and not come to the beach to find him. But think about it, the countless plots in the previous life told Usopp not to do unnecessary things, otherwise it would be counterproductive. Kia's business is so busy now, Ant Hill is in the wind and moon every day, and Bigger's daddy stays at home when he has nothing to do. Normal logic will definitely not be him, but after the notice, maybe these big guys will come to him out of concern and admiration. On the contrary, it produces some troubles in extraneous branches. Usopp went through a series, thinking backwards. In the end, he stood still and waited for the enemy to come. As the fleet approached, Usopp's mood became more agitated and his mouth dry. Nima. This is a real, alive pirate. It's not that kind of small role, and it was nothing to fight with Lao Tai before. It was all in a safe environment, and there would not be too much excitement and anxiety. But this time is different, about to face the real murder without calculation, the second top with pirates, even in the New World, as on the table of the little guy, really not to be underestimated. The fleet was not prepared to hide and tuck in, nor did it care about Usopp, a spiritual guy standing on the shore. The purpose this time is mainly to find the boss behind this island. If there is a trap, temporarily retreat, and if there is no trap, bring the other party's dry suit back to the eldest brother to dispose of. Before the Navy could react, they rolled up their company's assets and left. As I came gently, with a wave of my sleeves, I took away all the clouds. Diamante and the others got off the boat and were about to take people to the town, when they suddenly found that the spirit guy on the shore just now was already standing in front of him. How drip. Don't you look like a bad guy lately? Diamante turned to ask Pika beside him with questions. Maybe you're wearing too fancy clothes. Pika's sharp voice gives a speculation of collateral personal injury. Am I really too good? Diamante said modestly. Listen well, bastard. Pika said angrily with black lines on his face, and the angry Pika's voice sharpened a little more. However, Usopp did not feel so funny to listen to, laughing at the shortcomings of others, which is not a quality that a young pioneer should have. Little ghost, who are you? Don't get in the way, be careful that the old lady kills you. Baby with a cigarette in her mouth, can dress a gentle lady maid into a domineering woman. Point your hand at Usopp's head. It's quite a bit of an imposing atmosphere that will be killed for thousands of miles if you don't agree with each other. Usopp's emotions at this time were stirred to the extreme, and the muscles of his whole body trembled under this emotion, which felt like he was about to confess to his first love, and he would have the college entrance examination tomorrow, just like the big brother of the mixed society in the class said that he would block you at night. Excitement, fear, rapid heartbeat, abnormal secretion of various hormones, various emotional and physical reactions in the spirit, and oppression of Usopp's nerves. Don't scare him. Bab 5. Look at him shaking. This kind of sluggishness is not worthy of death in our hands. Knock it out and throw it aside, don't waste time. Bab 5's arm turned into a mace in an instant, and it was about to be cut off according to Usopp's head, and Usopp, who was about to open the scoop, spoke. Slow guys. After a few deep breaths, Usopp forcibly controlled his emotions. Hearing the sound, the baby 5 mace also stopped at Usopp's brain door in time. The iron tip on the mace had pierced Usopp's skin. I think the person you're looking for is me, and I'm the boss behind Medusa. By the way, I would like to introduce you, Usopp, a schoolboy in the world of contemptible pirates. Usopp temporarily regained his calm aura. Diamante and the others looked at each other, a little dumbfounded. That's it. A little fart kid who doesn't even grow hair. Earn tens of billions per month. Can you believe it? However, after a few people made eye contact, they thought about it, and the child could not be underestimated. Who knew if this old monster in front of him had eaten some strange devil fruit? Thinking of the Kadri sugar in the lair, several people felt that they had a very right to speak. Since he knew that he and the others were coming, even if he was not the mastermind, he must have a great connection with this matter, and he would not believe him after being arrested first. Okay, brave, since you have admitted it, then come with us. Save everyone from having unpleasantness. Although it is inevitable that you will die in the name of our family, if you want to cooperate, I can leave you a whole corpse. Oh? Leave a whole corpse? Originally, I wanted to talk about cooperation with Brother Ming, but judging by your current attitude, it seems that it is impossible not to fight. I still want to solve it peacefully. Ha 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 ha, X4. Hearing that the swarthy teenager on the opposite side wanted to talk about cooperation with Doflamingo himself, several people laughed and leaned back together. The pirates around looked at this big talk, and the boy laughed even more tearfully. I haven't heard such a funny joke in a long time, and the unknown people in the East China Sea actually want to talk directly with Dover about cooperation. Ha ha ha. When were we so looked down upon? If you want to cooperate with us, at least a cadre of the 7 Wuhai, or the 4 emperors. Oh. Are you done laughing? Usopp asked expressionlessly, saying more was useless. Ha 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 ha. Little ghost looks at you today. I amused me today. I will let you die today. A few little guys treated such a nameless person and did not bother to personally make a move, which was too much to lift each other. A few little brothers with very lively minds and work in their eyes automatically stepped forward, ready to take down the little ghost in front of them and make a small achievement. After all, no matter how small it is not a piece of meat. Alas, in such a world of fame and fortune, it is really difficult to be nameless. Killing, it's sin. No matter who kills, killing is a sin. Several. The knife and gun have no eyes. I didn't want to kill, but your boss wants to be famous. No way. If you want to do this, I can only give him a name. The original sin is me. You are no wonder. I hope your boss can catch it. Usopp sighed helplessly, finally starting to kill. Usopp looked at his hands that were about to be stained with the blood of life, and then looked at the living beings in front of him who were about to become revenants under the gun, and couldn't help but feel a little sad. This sigh made several younger brothers feel strange. It was as if there was a force telling them not to continue forward. Unfortunately, under the trend of conformism and luck, several people still rushed up without hesitation, slashing and chopping with knives and axes, and adding sticks to their bodies. When the blade was about to hit Usopp, Uri had an extra strange-looking gun, and at the same time the gun sounded. Bang, 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 bang. Usopp's figure blurred for a while, then immediately became clear. And the few little brothers who rushed forward have long been silent, with a bullet hole in their foreheads, a big pit in the back of their heads, and milky white brain flowers that are splattered radially everywhere. The faces of several guys were also stained with little unknown liquid. Hee, killing is a sin. Usopp endured the panic, nausea, heart racing, hand shaking, and muttering with his head down. Killing. This does not feel generally bad. Usopp gave a pertinent bad review in his heart. But now I can only break my teeth and swallow it in my stomach, hoping that I don't have nightmares in the evening. At this moment, several people began to look squarely at the dark-skinned ordinary teenager in front of them, which seemed to be not ordinary. Several people meet their eyes. Who is on? Judging from Usopp's skills just now, it may not be easy for baby 5 people to get it in a short time. It seems that only the king has exploded. I'll do it. Touch his low first. Pika, as the first person under Brother Min, Shi Guo's ability, naturally has enough confidence in the face of this small situation, and he doesn't want to waste too much time. Pika took the lead, standing opposite Usopp, the fruit power activated, and the ground mixed with itself turned into a huge rock giant. Huh. Usopp was still a little shocked when he looked at Pika in front of him, and there was no shock in reality in the animation. After the shock, Usopp felt that he had to stop him immediately and fight quickly, otherwise if the movement was too large, it would be against his original intention to quietly erase the matter. Looking at the rock giant in front of him, Usopp already had a countermeasure. This huge body is really troublesome to fight, and the power of the gun has been weakened to the extreme at this time. So when Pika activated the fruit ability, Usopp was already secretly accumulating. The stone fruit is a powerful fruit that can assimilate rocks, control them, and hide in them, but for Usopp, this fruit is actually developed in general. However, this fruit for infrastructure construction is definitely beautiful. Mainly because he has a fatal weakness, that is, he can't elementalize. Seeing the extremely strong Usopp, he had already swept his real position in the rocks. The second order of violent blood opens, and the second order of thunder opens. Usopp had already arrived in front of the giant in a flash, and when Pika did not react, his right hand swung forward sharply, and the two-dimensional knife that had been charged for a long time was instantly slashed, and then a seemingly thin knife light flashed. Heaven and earth were silent, and a few seconds later, a large area of blood poured out from the gap in the rock, and I have to say that the size of the big blood is really much, and several little brothers who were headshot did not leave so much blood. Finally retracted the strength, should not be dead, Usopp said lightly to Diamandi and the others, and Usopp, who shot with a killing intent for the second time, has quickly adapted to his current state. This can also be regarded as the other party's unfamiliarity with their own abilities, and hit the other party with a poor information. And Diamanti's heart was dripping with cold sweat, and the danger alarm in his heart was crazy warning, and a group of people looked at Usopp with a significantly different look in their eyes, with deeper fear in fear. In shock, he even forgot to react, forgot to escape, and even wondered if he was going to be seconded in the next second. Groove. That's Pika. Brother Ming is not necessarily a person who can get seconds. You are a little guy in the East China Sea, and you will give seconds as soon as you shoot? Is this still the weakest East China Sea we are familiar with? All this should be just an illusion, right? Professional underworld. After a few seconds of brief shock, he immediately corrected his mood, and Diamanti commanded the younger brothers to quickly rescue Pika from the pile of stones. At this time, Pika's state was very miserable, completely unconscious. That two-dimensional knife almost cut off all his ribs, almost split him in two from the middle. If not for Usopp halfway through, then there is no need to save, directly can GG Smita. Diamanti and the others looked miserable, but there was still a breathing Pika, and the anger value was simply bursting. If it weren't for the order, Baby 5 and the others would have rushed up and fought with Up earlier. For many years, no one has ever dared to hurt my family like this. You damn it. Diamanti's suppressed voice was like a wild beast roaring. That's it. Oh. Your family must be well protected. Now that the injury is over, what can you do? This fancy-dressed gentleman. Usopp actually doesn't care. You cut me, I cut you. The life of a pirate is so simple. The winner lives and the loser dies, and the king and defeat are nothing more. At this point, you can still say such powerless vulgar words. Usopp feels too inelegant, too unbeautiful, too not atmospheric. No wonder Brother Ming's pattern is here. The world of pirates is impossible to be calm, although simple and difficult, calm is actually very easy. It's just that if you want to pursue more and give up this calm, you must bear the price you receive. No one forces a person to be a pirate, but since you do, you still pursue calm and safety, sit on the past merit book to post your achievements, and your ability, then reality will definitely hit you head on. And after a short and irrational thought, Diamanti resolutely decided to make a move. Sure enough, the pirates are a group of irrational guys. Usopp looked at Diamanti, who shot angrily with a flat face. After the initial excitement period, after 2 shots, Usopp is more and more able to adapt to the rhythm of being an excellent pirate. It can be summed up in one sentence, that is, what you look at, what you look at. The rest is left to the fist and fate, and the life of licking blood at the knife's edge is really a little exciting. Now Usopp has been promoted from a primary school student in the pirate world to an intern. As an intern, Usopp felt that he needed to let his enemies set up a brand in his heart that Usopp was not easy to provoke. Snake Sword. Raising his hand as his famous stunt, T turns the western sword body he carries into a fluttering form like cloth, throws the sword body towards Usopp and instantly restores the original hardness of the sword body. This makes the western sword itself twist, unleashing an unpredictable irregular attack, stabbing Usopp. The powerful domineering power allowed Usopp to perfectly avoid all attacks, and at the moment of the opponent's attack, combined with the intelligence of his previous life, Usopp quickly came to a conclusion. Diamante's attacks are varied, but the attack power is not strong. The strength comes from the flexible use of fruit abilities. Domineering development is not profound. The clothes and weapons on his body are all metal products, and the use of fruit abilities changes form, and the easiest way to deal with him is Violent Blood Second Order, Thunder Second Order. The opening of the two major states made Usopp's speed attribute instantly skyrocket, and after grabbing the opponent's shot, he stiffened instantly, and his figure flashed. Diamante's eyes directly lost the trace of Usopp, and when he found it again, Usopp had appeared behind him, and Diamante's hair stood upside down. Omens. At this time, Diamante only felt that a capital letter was on top of his head. Immediately afterwards, Usopp wrapped his arms around Diamante and silently chanted, "Full power of electrotherapy." I saw a burst of strong black electric light suddenly gushing out of Diamante's body, and the powerful current made him completely lose control of his body, and in less than a second, the smell of burnt barbecue mixed with the smell of strong ozone, and the stimulating Baby 5 and others took a big step back. The two fought for a short time, and Diamante only made one move, and was directly caught by Usopp in seconds. The pirates who witnessed all this happening are now like dreaming. Is there really such a strong person? Our little brother, I have too little knowledge. That is Diamante, a man who has walked through the sea of fire under the Knife Mountain, and has experienced an unknown number of big and small battles, and can still stand tall. Seconds again. This man is also terrible. The group of pirates in front of them were completely shocked by the explosive strength displayed by Usopp. Apart from Doflamingo, they had never seen anyone who could defeat these two core cadres so easily. In their not-so-broad understanding, these two people seemed to be invincible. But here today, in the small East China Sea, the two masters were so easily defeated by a small black thin man who did not look amazing, one move by one, which undoubtedly shattered the myths and beliefs in their hearts for many years. Who I am, where I am, what am I going to do? At this moment, the ultimate question of life comes to everyone's mind. There was another person in this who was different. Baby 5 was crazy against Usopp, launching all the attacks she could think of, but Usopp did not resist or pay attention to her, just silently watched her output, watching all kinds of damage slide away from his smooth skin. The fruit of Bab 5 changes various weapons, but it makes Usopp feel very amazing. What kind of world is this? It is completely unscientific. Even the two of Usopp have lost most of their interest in fighting, and the opponent is still a girl, and he really can't get off the ground, and he doesn't break the defense anyway. Stop playing. Sister, with your domineering level, you can't hurt me at all, and it's the same in 100 years of fighting. Stop trying, I'm the man you'll never get. Usopp found that sometimes people don't work hard and really don't know they can't do it. Famous sayings, by the way, teasing the girl, it's really beautiful. While being frantically output, Usopp touched his chin and recalled the two battles just now. The battle process is fast, and it is easy to win, one move per person, easy and enjoyable. But the ease is mainly due to Usopp's sufficient understanding of the two, plus the tactic has also done in advance, and many situations have been targeted to deal with the plan. Science is like that, simple and elegant, fatal with one blow. From this point of view, it is actually very similar to the way snipers work, and snipers are actually a profession that grasps the enemy's behavior and weaknesses, and delivers a fatal blow at a critical time and place. It doesn't have to be a gun, but it has to be deadly. Usopp also found his advantage in battle. It seems that because his ability development is relatively comprehensive, so in the face of an enemy whose strength is not his own, or if he has his own shortcomings, his own suppression of the other party will be very strong, and it is easy to achieve enough advantages. Although the real experience against the enemy is not much, but the strong basic quality, so that these can actually be quickly compensated, and Usopp itself has its own absolute advantage, that is, the absolute speed of nerve reflexes. The exhausted Baby 5 breathed violently on the ground, a feeling of weakness that she had never felt before, which made her a little reluctant to stand up, and wanted to lie on the ground as a salted fish. It was too shocking, and the all-out attack could not hurt the other party in the slightest. Hey, call you. Yes, that fanhead. Is there a contact information for Doflamingo? If so, contact him, I will talk to him. Usopp. Luo commanded. Yes. Yes. Bufero, who was named by Usopp, tightened his legs in fear, afraid that this evil god would turn his target to himself. Bulu Bru Bru. Hey, Bufero. Electrocuted Doflamingo's arrogant look, which made Usopp look amazed. Yes, B. Buffalo stumbled back. How's it going? This makes Buffalo not very easy to answer. Telling the boss about his failures and incompetence is a very low impression behavior, but not saying and no, alas. It's so hard to be a little brother. Buffalo has tears in his eyes. Who would have thought that the two major combat forces could be seconded? If Bufero had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed that Pika and the others did not hold on for a round, let alone Brother Ming. Without waiting for Buffalo to answer, Usopp snatched the phone worm in his hand. Hey, is Doflamingo on the other side? Unceremoniously and knowingly asked. Who are you? What about Diamante and Pika? A bruise appeared on the phone's head, apparently questioning Usopp's politeness. Both of them, lying down, one is dying, the other is seriously injured. Usopp replied casually. Bang bang. That's not a funny joke. Brother Ming suppressed his strong anger. I don't know how long no one dared to talk to him so presumptuously, they all made him angry. No kidding. These two of your subordinates came over, and at first I said that I wanted to talk to you about cooperation, and they all laughed at me, saying that I was not famous, and I was a gadget that didn't know where to drill out. I'm right when I think about it, so I brushed a wave of prestige with these two of your subordinates. You shouldn't mind putting it. After all, we still have to talk about cooperation. Usopp explained insincerely. Bang bang. I mind very much, offend me, are you ready to die? Bastard. Cooperate? Wait for the next life. Brother Ming threatened. The two now seem to have reached the stage of ruthless talk. Don't leave after school. Afraid of you? Wait for me to shake people. Come on. Sibro village is waiting for you. But you better hurry, the sissy with a sharp voice may not last long. Hung up the phone worm. Doflamingo did not notify anyone, using his fruit ability to empty the way, shuttling between the clouds at high speed, and the situation of Pika and the others made him very worried. Bad people also have love, and bad people have love. They just have different positions. A battle between Usopp and Mingo is inevitable. Anyone can start a war, but to end it requires the consent of the victor. To end your mistakes and take responsibility, you must be the ultimate winner. Usopp pondered. By the way, he commanded the little brothers who had lost their courage and took care of the two people lying on the ground. The one gazing at the sky was shaped like a Doflamingo cloud. The world is hard, people make mistakes and struggle, and they are always in trouble. The only thing that can be done is to face and bear. Pika and the others have obviously improved a little after some treatment, and they can be regarded as temporarily saving their lives, and I have to say that the people of the pirate world. The body is really good, they are all cockroaches, and they were almost cut off by people during the day, and in less than a day, there was a significant recovery. Those few dead are completely unreflective, and it can be confirmed that there is no resilience in the case of death. Usopp has a serious analysis. If there is a reaction, ask if you are afraid. Look at the resilience of these two. It's hard to imagine that Usopp is not the strongest. The strongest Kaido, how strong can the flesh be? Usopp can't understand this. How can there be creatures with this physical strength? Theoretically the heart is completely unbearable. This kind of human heart, muscles, bones should not be healthy. Usopp can only say that the world is different for the time being. There is also a life form like the Lord that is so large that it is exaggerated. How can such a heavy body not collapse under gravity? It stands to reason that the size of the pirate world is much larger than the Earth, and the relative gravity will be much stronger, and it is impossible to support the existence of such a large creature. The Sea King class is also very unreasonable. The water pressure of the deep sea, such a large creature, the force area is large. How can you insist that the flesh does not collapse and is not flattened? Fantasy world is indeed very metaphysical. Human beings generally have three ways to deal with the parts that they cannot grasp. First, selective ignorance. What does it have to do with me? The second is to think rationally and ask the bottom of the matter. The third is to impose a hard set on the basis of previous experience. The fourth is to mystify or deify the event. Usopp, who has always been lazy, never liked to ask questions, did not like to pretend to be very clear, and his education from an early age made him an atheist. In the face of unknown natural people, we should always be in awe, and even more so in the face of the human heart. Looking at the clouds in the sky, Usopp felt and pondered the various truths of life, waiting for the strong man who was about to come, and the inescapable battle. For the first time, the name of human life disappeared on it, and the bodies of 5 people were still lying on the side of the road, exuding a fresh smell. Is it sad or worthy of a life that plays with one's own knowledge in order to achieve one's own interests, or is it just the choice they carry? When did you become such a person who does not respect life? Sure enough, you still can't be a qualified pirate, right? Usopp was calm in his heart, a little sad and lonely. As the Spider-Man of the pirate world, Brother Min, the speed of a person is very fast, and there is an angry bonus that is even faster, leaving in the morning and arriving in the evening. It seems that these cadres are indeed Brother Ming's heart. I don't know how he got it. After working in the underworld for so many years, he was followed by the few people at the beginning of his business, and the management team was rigid. Those who joined later were either poor in strength, or had mental problems, or were a 2nd or 5th boy. Usopp did not move, so he kept standing on the shore, waiting for Doflamingo. He did not move, and the pirates around him did not dare to move, except for the ship doctor who took care of the wounded. Everyone followed Usopp for a day in the sun. Ding! A screaming wind with an unparalleled domineering air descended on this quiet coastline. Brother Ming, who had been working for a day, his anger had weakened a lot, and he was more worried. The first thing he saw in Brother Ming's eyes was his seriously injured subordinate, and the anxious Brother Ming ignored anything else and came directly to Pika and Diamandi. The arrival of Brother Mingo is undoubtedly a shot in the arm for these pirates who were captured by Usopp alone, and the arrival of the main Heartbone has made them regain a lot of self-confidence, and the X of recovery in their hearts makes them feel that they are in a state of doing things again. Some of the IQs are not very sound, and the whole person is a lot more excited. It seems that in the next moment, the young master will avenge himself and the others, and kill that strange boy alive. Who hurt you? Brother Ming suppressed the anger in his heart, and the anger that had been slightly relieved was reactivated after seeing the seriously injured two. Dover, watch out, he's right behind you. Diamante reminded Doflamingo in horror. He is a fruit ability. The specific ability is not clear, but he can control electricity, because it fell too quickly. I don't know whether it is domineering or electricity that attacks me. Anyway, it is extremely lethal. In addition, he also had a close-range killing move, using his hand to create an almost invisible sword light, and almost nothing was cut wherever the sword light passed, and I was defeated by this move. Pika, who was almost in half, finished as fast as he could in his life, all the information he knew about Usopp. Usopp is very skeptical that if this buddy is drinking some milk, he will be able to fight him again on the spot. I didn't hear that drinking milk can supplement calcium. Color complement? Doflamingo looked at Diamante, who almost sprinkled some cumin chili noodles, and Pika, which was almost split in half, and suddenly raised his vigilance to the extreme. In the past day and night relationship, Brother Ming deeply knew the strength of these two. Second, is a very crazy word. This word should not appear in the two of them, but it appeared. Brother Ming is an extremely restrained person, although sometimes he looks crazy and perverted, but in essence he is a person who is good at forbearance. At this time, Doflamingo had already discovered that this teenager who was standing behind him very close to him, but still very inconspicuous, would not even have noticed the existence of such a person if it were not for Diamante's reminder. Thinking of this, cold sweat suddenly dripped down his forehead. What if he suddenly shot at me just now? Can I prevent it? Looking at the two brothers on the ground, Brother Ming did not have any confidence in this. Who are you? Although my heart has been spraying wildly, where did this pervert come from? But I can't lose in momentum. Usopp from Sibro village. I want to talk to you about business. So I brought you here. It took a lot of time in between, but fortunately you found out in time. There is no need to play tricks when you see the righteous Usopp, and it is Usopp's own character to go straight and straight. The art of language, pay attention to a tease. Ahem. Sincerity, pay attention to a sincerity. Just talk about business. Brother Ming looked at the miserable two, and the green tendons on his head added a few more. It has to be said that self-control is a good thing. In fact, it should have been a peaceful and friendly business meeting. You and I should also be dressed in suits and shoes, sitting in a bright and exquisite conference room, drinking red wine, and negotiating further cooperation processes, but this beautiful thing was destroyed by your subordinates. Pity. Usopp sighed. Oh? Do I still have to say sorry to you? And please pay attention to the wording, not subordinates. It's family. They are all my family. At this time, he did not forget to buy people's hearts. Looking at the tears of the pirates around him, Usopp secretly admired in his heart. Condole. No way, your two relatives think that I am not famous and are not worthy of cooperating with a big guy like you. So I can only prove myself. Usopp shrugged and said indifferently. Good. 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 Why don't I verify you too? This attitude of indifference completely angered Doflamingo. Come on. Much smaller. Usopp has long been prepared in his heart, in fact, whether he talks about it or not, he must fight first, and if he is subdued, everything will be discussed, and if he is subdued, he will be killed or dead. Much smaller. Is it your dog's nickname? Bastard. The last time he dared to be so arrogant in Lao Su has already become fish food. According to the intelligence just now, the angry brother Ming was not ready for close combat, so he first tested the water from a distance. A few bullet lines are fired casually, followed by the super strike whip. The bullet line blocks Usopp's dodging route, and the super strike whip attack ends. A set of temptations worked. Looking at the oncoming powerful blow, Wu Ran felt that he was a little boiling. Gone. I am Zhao Giao. Usopp raised his hand to shoot a few shots, lines, and then his figure swayed to avoid the whip attack. That's it. Usopp taunted casually. Nima. Bear child. It's giving you face, isn't it? In the face of Usopp's taunts, it was already difficult for Mingo to maintain enough sanity. Doflamingo evolution, Tyrannosaurus Doflamingo. The strength of Mingi's attack in this state is stronger than one notch. The rich combat experience made Usopp a little tired to deal with, and as he thought, in the face of real masters, those skills that read long notes could not be used at all. And it is more difficult to force the flexible, domineering and strong brother Ming into a dead corner and cart a wave of rhythm. Under absolute strength, any trick is easy to expose its own flaws. Just take this opportunity to see where your strength is. Forget yourself and kill the realm. Usopp held the gun steadily, his eyes gradually changed between hollow and confused. Mingo saw that he fell into a strange state. Usopp was not in a hurry to attack, but floated to the line not far from Usopp with a pink shadow, and the curiosity of the pirate world will always make people fall into crisis. Looking at Usopp's empty eyes, Brother Ming felt that something was wrong, and Brother Ming, who was looked at by this look, suddenly felt very panicked for no reason. The person in front of him, without fear or thinking, seemed to be only a shell. Before Brother Ming could figure out what was going on, the shell moved, and the raised hand was a shot, and before the bullet arrived, the person appeared in front of him, and it was another shot against his head. Usopp's figure flickered beside Mingo, each flicker accompanied by countless gunshots. Rain hits plantain. Usopp is rain, Mingo is the beaten plantain. Exhausted by Usopp's barrage attack, Ming's every attempt to distance himself through the fruit ability ended in failure, and Usopp's attack was too fast, leaving no spare time to cast some powerful skills. You even have to resist part of the attack to change your breath. Doesn't a guy have to breathe? Doflamingo fell into the situation of Lao Tai at this time, but now it is dozens of times more cruel than then. Of course, Brother Ming is also more than 10 times stronger. However, the first time he faced an enemy like Usopp, Brother Ming was also a little confused, and the way of the world changed after not going out to sea for a few days. Is it so ruthless to meet a random little character? Looking at Usopp's near infinite output, Mingo, who had already seen red, decided that he could not wait any longer. Awakening on. Everything around me instantly turned into thin lines. The rolling line wave is controlled by Mingo. Disrupting Usopp's speed, Usopp finally slowed down, giving Mingo some breathing space. Pirates, angry kill, hate also kill, speak with a sword. Doflamingo, who opened the fruit awakening, was undoubtedly stronger than one notch, assimilating the field of lines formed by the surrounding matter, effectively containing Usopp's extreme speed. Under the influence of Doflamingo's fruit, the entire ground turns into a rolling ocean formed by lines, entangles all living things on the surface of the sea, and can effectively block the attack from bullets. The home field became away, the extreme speed was contained, the attack was blocked, and Usopp's barrage attack was no longer oppressive enough, and the storm turned into a spring breeze. The huge benign change made Doflamingo's combat experience at this time much better, at least a little able to turn around. However, being able to control so many lines without knotting them also impressed Usopp a lot. The two collided with each other dozens of times in the flesh, and Brother Ming was very careful and always kept enough alert. The two family members lying on the ground also always reminded Brother Ming that this kid in front of him had the ability to seriously injure him. The strategy given by Pika and others has not shown its value for the time being, at least until now. Usopp has not used the lightning skill, and the very mysterious, almost instantaneous split Picard move. This made Doflamingo a little daunted, always guessing how Usopp would use it. Brother Ming is also a forgiving habitual offender, under the crazy appearance, super patience, and also knows how to make trade-offs, but lacks the great wisdom of being a person. Always be on guard. In this kind of high-intensity battle, it really makes my brother physically and mentally exhausted. Just like Li Zunhuan's flying knife, Yi Gucheng's sword, the most terrifying time is always when it is ready to strike, and it is not revealed. And you never know how it will strike and in what way it will defeat itself. We all know that you can't take chances, but when the time comes, most people will still think that they are the lucky ones who are one in a million, and that making sense and doing things are two different things. The reality is actually cruel and maddening. While Usopp is frantically output, he is also continuing to optimize the movements of gunfighting according to the specific situation in actual combat. The battle with Mingo made Usopp's experience against the enemy skyrocket. Doflamingo, the first small boss to set sail in the New World, not only has a good name that can make up the number of words, but also has a strong strength to shock the first half of the Great Voyage. Whether it is combat experience, combat wisdom, and combat techniques, they are all outstanding. In the battle between the two, Usopp has slowly opened his power, and the investment of fruit ability, Thorpe's play index has more than doubled. You open awakening, I open fruit. The ability can't hit me, my ability can hit you. This made Mingo's mentality a little broken, and the defense of the slippery fruit showed a very buggy effect even in the high-end game. Basically all the physical attacks slipped through Usopp's body, unable to hit, and there seemed to be a series of misses floating above Usopp's head. Harahai Hakubo's sea of thread could not wrap around Usopp, limiting his speed, because it was too slippery. To trap Usopp, in addition to using the strongest move at the moment that Usopp cannot dodge, the birdcage, other tricks do not seem to be effective in harming Usopp, but the birdcage is out of the grass. This town does not want to have living people. Brother Ming doesn't care how many people die, but the movement after the destruction of the island is too big. Even if it is a legal robbery, if you kill too many people in the East China Sea, you will definitely be chased and killed by those few old stubborns in the Navy. In case the Navy suddenly loses its mind, it will be a bit more than worth the loss to take back the title of Kiwu Sea. The two cadres lying on the ground in the group of juniors were all watching the fierce discussion between the two, except for a small number of cadres. The others could not see the details of the battle between the two at all. On Usopp's side, in his crazy output, the bullets were almost used. It can be confirmed that the gunfighting technique at this stage can only be regarded as a useful trash fish cleaning technique, and it costs a lot, but the handsome is really handsome. As the saying goes, a cannon rings with 10,000 taels of gold, and there are not many bullets that can be carried on the body. As a result, gun art is of little significance in the high-end game. The bullet speed is still very easy for masters to hide, and the cost of cleaning up miscellaneous soldiers is relatively large, which is not worth it. Even if the special bullet is against the high-end domineering master, it still pales in comparison and cannot produce enough lethality. You can't expect to kill a general with one shot, that's not realistic. In this analysis, the cost control of swordsmanship is the best, the attack is strong, the cost is small, and it is also very handsome to put up pos. Moreover, good swordsmanship training also has enough bonuses for gunfighting. After all, the essence of gunfighting is actually a statistical skill of fusion, physical art, gun art, and sword art. The core is to calculate with precise movements, launch the attack with the maximum damage until the least damage itself, can attack any dead corner around you, and each move is displayed, the maximum killing range, giving the enemy a fatal blow. But the premise of these is that the lethality of bullets is enough to kill the enemy, and the masters of the pirate world, with armed color defense, are actually difficult to kill with one hit. This makes the economy and endurance of gun art decline sharply. The ability to attach fruit to the bullet can also make Mingo's line slide away, but the amount of attached force requires extremely fine deployment, both to ensure that the attack that interferes with the movement is slipped, and to ensure that the power of the fruit disappears in the moment it hits the person. Microscopic control makes Usopp's mental energy depleted enormously. Each bullet is first covered with domineering and fruit ability to be activated, which will also make the attack rhythm become unsmooth, and smart enemies can also find the real domineering bullet according to this unsmooth moment, so as to target dodging and defense. Of course, this is not absolute. Combat, rapid change, true and false, sometimes not smooth because of the need to increase the power of the bullet, and some are deliberately to deceive the opponent's perception. Mingo's injury was because he couldn't figure out Usopp's true and false routine at the beginning, and he was shot. This deception did not trigger the aura of the long nose, which made Usopp a little happy. It seems that only lies told with the mouth can be counted. Is the art of language going to be transformed into the art of the body? The bottom line of the heavenly Tao probed down again. Since the handgun does not work, then change the way to play. Anyway, there will be no bullets. Usopp put away his pistol, pulled it behind his back, and assumed a rifle-aiming pose. Seizing the moment when Brother Ming's ventilation action stalled, he pulled the trigger, and in an instant the fire exploded, and the loud noise unique to the heavy sniper made the surroundings quiet. The moment he saw the posture, Brother Ming was first stunned, and then the moment he heard the explosion, he seemed to realize something, and his heart clicked, and then his sweat hair stood upside down, and cold sweat surged wildly. Usopp, who had nothing in his hand, continued to maintain the action of pulling the bolt and aiming, and Mingy's sight and hearing were crazy warnings, and his years of combat experience also madly reminded him that this blow was not the same as the spring breeze and drizzle just now. Hide. It's night. When Usopp's super nerve reflex let Mingo see it, the bullet was already on the way, and at the same time that Mingo realized that something was wrong, the bullet had already arrived in front of him with powerful domineering and kinetic energy. The only thing that can be faster than a bullet is the spirit of thought, and rich experience allows Ming to have a fast enough conditioned reflex. Before the brain could figure it out, the body had already reacted, and the shield white line instantly blocked the front of the bullet layer by layer. The wind pressure rolled up by the bullet made the surrounding lines unable to get close, and the powerful kinetic energy erupted violently on the shield white line, and Usopp's domineering and Mingo's domineering collided fiercely. The victory and defeat were scored quickly. Usopp came prepared, Ming temporarily condensed, and the fragments of the bullet passed through the defense of the line shield, cutting a thin blood mark on Ming's face. Boom. There's something more exciting, little black man. A momentary life and death crisis made Doflamingo furious to the extreme. The elegant bad guy wanted to laugh at everything, and the burst of wild laughter made Mingo's momentum become more crazy and obedient. Usopp in the selfless killing realm does not care about the enemy's emotional changes at all, and the absolute control of reason, timidity and other negative emotions cannot affect Usopp at all. However, this shot seems to have reached Doflamingo's G-spot, and Doflamingo, who has rarely been injured since becoming a Nanabukai, is now really angry. Several levels more angry than his own family being cut. Today was supposed to be a good day, but I was injured by an inexplicable brat in the sea. In more than one place, this is enough to make a person in power have the mood to destroy everything. Especially such an extreme man as Ming. Sniping this weapon, the sneak attack has not yet achieved a single hit, then it is not interesting to continue. In the case of the enemy's defense, the attack speed is too slow. Usopp erased the power of the fruit on the gun, and Mingo discovered that it was such a murderous gun that attacked him. The moment he saw the gun, Brother Mingo also analyzed that Usopp has the ability to be invisible, but what kind of fruit is it? Transparent fruit? Still is. With Brother Ming's insight, he can't analyze it for the time being. Usopp found a place to put the gun in his hand. Brother Ming also quietly watched without moving. The battle behind may be more difficult, and returning the breath is the best choice now. Armistice. There can be no truce. There is no reason to stop fighting now except that Usopp dies or dies himself. Personally went out with the two major cadres and returned home, and that brother will not have to mix in the new world in the future. Usopp, who put the gun away, stood opposite Doflamingo again, and the coldness in his eyes did not increase or decrease. The hand touched the sword body, dispelling the fruit ability on the sword, and Usopp did not want to win through those little tricks at this moment. I just want to fight seriously and see what grade my real strength is. Seeing the sword in Usopp's hand, Mingo's pupils shrank sharply, and the dog thing would be quite comprehensive. The sword body flashed with electric light, and the burst of blood and thunder was full of firepower. All in one episode flash. The power of the fruit silent shuttle uses the ability of the fruit to eliminate resistance in the air, making people move faster in the air and quietly. Usopp's figure turned into an electric light, flickering around Mingo. The smell of ozone spread violently, and Ming was also dancing around him. The sound of the sword colliding with the armed color on the line crackled like fried beans, and the sound was urgent and dense. It's quite a bit of a sense of sight of Lee Rock versus I Love Luo. Brother Ming is now covered in cold sweat. Quick. It's really fast. The Navy has not shaved so fast, or the realm ability of awakening. Maybe he would have died under this extremely fast sword. Not only the speed of movement. It's about movement, and nerve response in all directions. At this time, Brother Ming must concentrate all his spirit, and a slight mistake may fall into an irreparable predicament, and he will be pressed and beaten by a new person in rhythm. Although he is angry, he can only endure. Counterattack. It's too late to defend. Still want to fight back? I'm afraid it's not that I'm dying quickly. Unless it was Kaido's kind of hard steel attack, at least Brother Ming was not so confident in his physical defense. So dragging is the best choice at the moment. Carrying Usopp has no physical strength, and the rest is not left to his slaughter. Brother Mingo does not believe how long this kind of extremely fast attack Usopp can last. The spirit can hold on, and the muscles can't hold it. Persistence is victory. The family is still waiting for me. I can do it. I can persist. At this time the spirit of the older generation possesses Ming to succeed. Brother Ming has never been afraid to fight against the strong, and his strong and huge power background has given him enough confidence and pride. To be able to fight like this with my Doflamingo, this kid is proud enough. It would be best if you could pull the family to become a family. Brother Ming, who stabilized the situation, began to float a little. By the way, I added a little pertinent evaluation to Usopp. Empty and indifferent eyes, unparalleled speed, the sword technique that directly attacks the key points and the dead ends of the body. This is a pure killing sword. As for marksmanship, well, that's it. Sadistic dishes, _. The moon is sparse, and the two under the moonlight are still fighting fiercely. Under such an atmospheric moonlight, they should have done something elegant like a wind and snow, but unfortunately they were ruined by two rough men. The force on Usopp's sword became stronger and heavier, and Brother Ming had to concentrate with all his strength. Do your best to operate the fruit and domineering, in order to deal with the extremely fast slashes sent by the ghostly Usopp from various dead corners. Mingo's mental consumption and domineering consumption are very fast. Usopp's sword is difficult to distinguish, sometimes with domineering and extremely strong strength, and sometimes not. However, because the speed was exceeded too much, Brother Ming could not accurately distinguish which sword should be defended and which should be ignored. So the overall domineering consumption is faster than Usopp's. On the other hand, Usopp's cultivation in the past few years has focused on the absolute control of subtle strength, and the various power changes on the sword are at will, and the switch between true and false is extremely smooth, which makes Brother Ming very depressed. In this way, the advantage is opened up in a little gap. The point of the war of attrition is to save oneself bit by bit and consume the enemy. The deception skill is definitely the strongest trick Usopp learned in Summoner Canyon. Many people will deify the skill of gunfighting that looks at the introduction and labels very fiercely. In fact, in reality, this ideal skill is limited, such as the number of bullets, bullet model matching, carrying capacity, etc. There is no arsenal behind them. Then the consumption of supplies after each fierce battle is a problem. Gunfighting moves and moves are also something that every human can do, and there is nothing magical about it. The difference is only in how to use wisdom, knowledge, and a large amount of pre-war data to calculate an optimal set of solutions for different scenarios and situations. In battle, use the best data model, at a certain moment in the moment, choose a suitable attack method, and always exert the most efficient lethality. The same is true of Usopp's swordsmanship. The actual combat stream pursues extreme speed and weakness attacks, and the attack method is simple and direct, so that the attacks issued at any moment can be maintained at the highest level of damage, and there will be no more pressing in seconds. This is a huge difference from the combat style of Soren's famous skill stream, which has a huge bonus to attacks when unleashing certain skills, and is very explosive. As for the advantages and disadvantages between the two, it can only depend on the level of the swordsman and the effect of the presence, and there is no absolute strength in essence. As for the issue of specialization, Usopp himself has thought deeply. But after careful analysis, it was found that specialization did not have any advantages for him. Based on 2 points. One is that the improvement of any skill is whether it is sword art or marksmanship, what kendo can be endlessly improved and so on, which is in Usopp's opinion. Infinity itself is a false proposition. Human beings have done so many actions, and there are so many ways to exert power. There is also a limit to what can be followed by each action, but the number of combinations between different actions is very large, but it is far from infinite. And everyone will not endlessly try different combinations, and in the end they will only find one or several sets of combat logic that suits them, and the optimal solution that fits their own combat style is enough. In day-to-day practice, familiarize your body with and memorize these movements, and in future battles, a moment of electric flint is quickly performed by the body's instinctive reaction. Although the magnitude of action combinations is large, there are not many optimal solutions for different combat styles. With the fixed combat mode, the improvement of this part will become very limited, and at most it can only be repeatedly optimized in small details. Rational analysis, deep thinking. Everything becomes no longer mysterious. With the accumulation of combat experience and the maturity of the combat system, each additional action or deletion of an action will become a very large workload. The second is that Usopp's marksmanship has improved very quickly. Accuracy, vision, sight, talent, the starting point is very high, basically belongs to the peak of debut. No matter how much cultivation there is, the significance is not great, and the improvement is not obvious. So going around, and finally back to the essential problem. In the end, the fight is actually 4 points: wisdom, physical strength, domineering, and fruit. The enemies in the late stage of the pirate world basically have their own body armor, and how to break the defense and offset the domineering is the core of whether gunfighting can become the main force, not specialized. And Doflamingo is such a useful touchstone, although provoking this kind of underworld boss, provoking right and wrong, is not taken by me, but since it has come, it is better to make a full set. Brother Min, who has entered a semi-stable state, has begun to fantasize about all kinds of beautiful scenes after recovering Usopp. Money to get x10, team combat strength bonus x2, when the time comes, his power in the new world will be even greater, and his right to speak will be a little heavier, and he is one step closer to the great dream of returning to the Draco Heavenly Group. As for the 2 seriously injured family members? Presumably they will sacrifice a little unpleasantness in their hearts for the benefit of the family for a while. It's just a little unpleasant. Glancing at Pika, which was about to be split in half, Brother Ming affirmed in his heart. Is there a MMP that I don't know? Pika and Diamandi. Usopp observed Mingo's state. Almost. Usopp pretended to be exhausted and continued to paralyze Mingo. Combat interpretation. A new trick that Usopp has recently learned, achieves 2 goals by constantly practicing drawing squares with his left hand and drawing circles with his right hand. The effect is okay, and the speed will drop by about 30% when used, just by pretending to be exhausted to paralyze Brother Ming. This move is not suitable for use at the beginning of the battle, and it is easy to be caught and defeated with one blow. When using the battle interpretation, the fruit protection on the body cannot be distracted from release. Because it is necessary to maintain sword moves and speed, while also controlling fruits or domineering skills, and releasing skills that take a long time to recharge, the defense will also drop to a very low state. Concentrate on charging Overlord color domineering. Brother Min's side found that Usopp's speed dropped sharply, and he did not take advantage of the victory to pursue. After all, the opponent's whole card has not yet been played, and now the situation is basically consistent with his own analysis, and the scene has basically been controlled, so there is no need to take risks. Waiting for Usopp's speed to drop a notch again is the best time to attack. Anyway, he has endured it for so long, it doesn't hurt to endure it for a while. Just as Mingo Meiji was waiting for Usopp's physical strength to continue to decline, suddenly Usopp's speed surged, and the black figure slammed through the surrounding chaotic lines, cutting straight to Doflamingo's middle palace. The sudden change did not make Brother Ming nervous, but happy. Good. Finally, the dog jumped off the wall, resisting this wave, and it was the dawn of victory. Fully control the shield white line with the strongest domineering of the moment, blocking the path of Usopp's advance. Just when Brother Ming was ready to carry this wave of attacks, and Usopp was about to touch the white line of the shield, the dark purple air shield on Usopp suddenly lit up, and then Brother Ming's eyes were shocked, and then the domineering energy on the white line of the shield dissipated, and the white line of the shield itself could not maintain its own form and began to scatter to the ground. The sword thunder in Usopp's right hand swept directly at Brother Ming's throat, and Brother Ming, who had long been prepared for the backhand, launched at the moment of his consciousness returning, and Brother Ming's body was instantly pulled apart by a line with great pull. I hope you can avoid it. Usopp secretly shouted pity and turned around. Deterrent aura. Usopp uses his own dedication to forcibly compress and refine a large amount of overlord-colored domineering, forming a fleeting deep purple chi within 2 meters around, and the enemy inside, if the overlord-colored domineering and courageous is weaker than Usopp, will be directly shocked to death. Even if the level is comparable, it will be impacted by this condensed overlord color, and it will lose its concentration for a moment. In the moment of losing his mind, domineering, fruit, and ability cannot be effectively maintained, and the body will also be in a state of loss of control, and a moment between masters is enough to decide life and death. Brother Ming's spirit was invaded by an extremely strong and condensed overlord-colored domineering, and after surviving the stimulation of this domineering, he said ruthlessly, "Good move." This move is a strange move that Brother Ming has never encountered in his life's battle, and it cannot be cracked at all, and he cannot guarantee that he can wake up quickly and successfully dodge every time. Groove. Where did it come from? This trick simply restrained 90% of the masters on the sea. Brother Ming touched the bloodstains on his neck, and he had already begun to scold the street in his heart, originally thought it was stable, but he didn't expect that the enemy still had hole cards. Usopp killer trick came out. He almost sent it on the spot, even if he knew the opponent's tricks, but it was a problem to block a few times. After discovering that he was actually a target for practicing tricks, Brother Ming had already had the intention to retreat at this time. Usopp was in no hurry to attack, because he was also ready to stop. The biggest trick has been tested, and the effect is good and gratifying, and this effect is also the limit of Usopp's spirit now. Still fighting? Usopp looked at Mingo in midair and asked lightly. This kid wants a truce. What routine? There is a conspiracy. But after thinking about it, how to answer Usopp is a question, which makes Mingo feel a little waxy, and whether to fight or not to fight has now become a philosophical question. So many little brothers below look at it and say no, which damages their prestige. Beat. I can't crack that strange aura, and it seems that I can't do it now. Dead loop. Dog stuff. Doesn't that mean cooperation? Can't you just give a step down? The villain Lao Su is also a big man on the New World side. I'm tired after fighting for half a day, so it's better to come down and eat something. Calculate the draw first, and later you will feel that the cooperation talks are not satisfactory, and we are continuing to divide life and death. Usopp, who has an emotional intelligence of 10,000, seems to sense Brother Min's embarrassment. Gave him a step that was neither soft nor hard. Seeing that your kid has been fighting with Lao Su for so long, I will give you a face, see what you have to talk about, but the discussion is not satisfactory, and the matter of my dear family's injury cannot be just settled. Brother Ming said toughly. Okay. We'll compensate for medical expenses. Seeing that Brother Ming came down from midair to disperse the hostility, Usopp also lifted the selfless killing realm, hung up the object exemption mode and waited for Brother Ming to approach. However, Brother Ming stopped about 5 meters away from Usopp. It seems that he was deterred by the deterrent aura. Too close, life and death can't help but feel really bad. The battle made everyone feel bad. The younger brothers carried the 2 cadres to stand behind Brother Ming, significantly improving Brother Ming's platoon, and the smart little brother will never embarrass his boss, and will pretend to be deaf and dumb at the right time. It's just that everyone's eyes have changed from the original contempt to deep jealousy. Cooperation should be based on equal relations, and strength is naturally the same. The elegant moonlight, cool breeze and good results made Usopp feel very comfortable for a while. This wave of forced group opening is still good for the time being. The refreshing sea breeze made Brother Ming's heart cold to the extreme. Just now, he was almost turned over by a newcomer who had not yet gone to sea, and there was an indelible stain on the perfect pirate professional resume. Do you want the Razi people to level this island? Bury the stain on your career? This idea made Brother Ming a little moved. The so-called heart is not as good as action, but it seems that only you and your team can block the kid in front of you, and there is basically no possibility of winning in front of others, and if the sugar sneaks attack, the chance is greater. But sugar is too important, and this kid's air mask attack is also very weird, even if the sneak attack is successful. However, the strength of the sugar itself is not strong, and the release of domineering energy cannot be affected by the ability of the fruit. The result is likely to be that the moment the sugar sneak attack is successful, the backhand is second, and the power of the fruit is lifted, then the consequences are not a matter of face, too risky. With some tactics, it is impossible to kill Usopp, but if he does not kill it, he will retaliate. Never mind. Let's take it slowly. There have been too many masters on the great voyage over the years, but there has never been a shortage of such sudden masters on the sea, but most of them, rising up quickly, sinking quickly, if they sink, they will gradually be forgotten, unless, before sinking, it has become a legend like Roger, Whitebeard, and Carp. This may be remembered for a long time. So living for a long time, and surviving the opponent is also a good choice. Steady, not instigated, those who wear shoes are really afraid of barefoot. The 2 sides stood still, and Usopp, who originally wanted to invite Ming to the ship for discussions, to see this Mingi's cautious posture. Alas, forget it, everyone is not familiar with it. However, negotiating in the field in the middle of the night was a rare experience for both sides. Quiet, the rustle of the woods on the shore gradually covered the tense atmosphere. Usopp took out the tea set out of nowhere, placed the same on a stone table with local materials cut flat, and began to boil water to boil tea. Everyone present had a confused expression. How relaxed and happy was the atmosphere. Brother Ming and the others faced this scene, obviously a little unwilling. Poisoning in the face. I have to say that people with hearts feel that everyone is dirty. Thinking too much, living too tired, This is the fundamental reason why since becoming king, Doflamingo's strength has become slow to improve. It's a pity for the talent of the whole body. Desire makes people stronger, and they also make people fall. The eldest Prince Luffy was only 19 years old when he defeated Brother Ming. What a terrible age, he only went to college in his previous life in 19, and here Luffy can already defeat Chi Wuhai, defeat the Imperial Deputy Katakuri, and become a hegemon. Solon and others also have brilliant records, and 2 years later, basically soda shots, all of which ended the battle quickly, and there were many second kill scenes. Kebi has never been a weak chicken who knows nothing, and after only a few years of cultivation, he has reached the level of lieutenant general. Usopp always feels that the strength of the pirate world seems to be quick, eating a fruit, professional exercise. It is easy to reach a certain strength. As for whether it can reach the peak, it depends on whether a person will be blinded by the desire of the moment and lose his enterprising spirit after gaining strength. The vast world is my love, and the continuous green mountain flowers are blooming. Looking at the various fierce gods below who were stunned, I don't know why Usopp's mind began to sing cheerful ballads. While making tea, I fantasized about the group of people below, following BGM to square dance. Mingo looked at Usopp's leisurely appearance with black lines, wondering if he wanted to regain a little initiative. Pirates are not a profession with good patience. If they hadn't been almost educated just now, who would waste time forming groups to watch people make tea? Please. Usopp, who was almost ready, pointed to the stone bench on the side and invited. 2 stone benches and a stone table, less than a meter apart, which makes Brother Ming extremely insecure, but so many people under him are watching, and they can't be intimidated on their faces. What to do? Let's bite the bullet. Brother Ming secretly left enough back for himself, and explained to the other cadres in a low voice, if there was anything abnormal on Usopp's side, he would immediately launch an indiscriminate attack. Usopp did not react to Brother Ming's small actions. People are afraid of death, especially in the face of a fierce beast that can hurt themselves at any time. No amount of preparation is too much. If Brother Mingo didn't prepare anything, Usopp would wonder if this was really Doflamingo, and how did this kind of scheming grow so big? Please. This is a mother tea tree that I found at a high price on the Great Voyage, which survived for more than 100 years, transplanted it, and then picked it by me myself, and stir-fried it through multiple processes, and the yield was extremely rare. I don't take it out for the average person. The second request, Usopp, as the host, poured a new cup of tea into the teacup in front of Mingo and signaled for the guests to use it first. Usopp did not pay attention to whether Brother Mingo drank or not, but returned to fill himself with a cup, put down the teapot, picked up the teacup, and began to taste it himself. A small sip is all satisfaction, and a long breath is exhaled into the moonlight. The whole person's nerves were relieved because of the tension. Bashi, complete. A cup of tea after the war is also a race against the living immortals. What cooperation are you going to talk about? Brother Ming didn't have any leisure to taste tea, and he was obviously a little impatient to wait. The injuries of the 2 family members also need to return to the new world to heal. Destroy the heavenly creatures. Usopp unhurriedly drank the tea in his hand. Forcing the temper to death, if it is not possible to fight, Usopp may have been strangled by Mingo with a thread on the spot. Usopp also has a certain purpose in doing this, and knocking on the mountain in strength is only the first step. Next, if you want to continue to control the rhythm of the business war, then interfering with the other party's emotions is also a good way. Anyway, step by step, the rest depends on providence. I have to say that Brother has now admitted in his heart that Usopp is indeed qualified to negotiate terms with him. Pirates cannot look at fame, they cannot look at age, but they must look at strength, especially when the other party has the strength to lift the table at any time. Say it. Brother Ming, who had exhausted his patience, was ready to go to war at any time. Getting down to business, to put it simply, my Medusa company is going to work with your Don Quixote family. Job content, you are responsible for security and promotion. I am responsible for opening the store, and the profit is divided into 20% of you. Be concise and get straight to the point. By what? When it came to business, Brother Ming was much less angry and asked lightly. With a quarterly turnover of hundreds of billions of berries, a net profit of 80 billion berries, Usopp is full of confidence. Oh. As a clothes seller, your income is indeed exaggerated. Or why should that phrase cooperate with you? Isn't it better to rob you? Although I admit that your strength is good, but we have investigated, is the level of your power not good? You can make a lot of money if you rob you. We can even open our own store and get the full profit. First of all, to correct a point, we are not selling clothes, we are selling art, identity, Status. As for robbery, you can grab it at will, except for design and materials, our other costs are not high. Even the cost of materials is frighteningly low. And you have to remember that only what I sell is called a luxury product, and what you sell can only be regarded as a high imitation. True nobles will not wear high imitation and be ridiculed. And all the designs of the whole Medusa are made by me, as long as I am still here, I don't care if you destroy all the stores. On the contrary, because your destruction has led to a shortage of goods, I can have a reason to sell at a higher price and make the product more precious. As for you opening your own shop, just by the few goods under you, I'm also hee. Usopp smiled contemptuously. How many meanings? What are those goods? We're pretty strong, okay. Pika and the others almost cracked their wounds when they heard Usopp's evaluation. After the trick of robbery did not work, Brother Ming also fell into a brief confusion. There are still people in this world who are not afraid of being robbed. It's not scientific. And how do people who play business feel so dirty in their hearts? Is there anyone in the world who is worse than me? Ming fell into deep self-doubt. This condensed version of the business plan. After reading it, we are continuing. Usopp took out a pamphlet from his arms and handed it to Mingo, who took it. Ideographic period an hour later. Do you want to join us? You are only under me. Brother Ming, who finished reading the plan, gasped and couldn't suppress the shock in his heart for a long time. Genius. What is genius? Brother Ming now has an accurate positioning in his heart, looking at the strength and business wisdom in front of him, he is such an outstanding Usopp. Brother Ming was really moved, and his heart, which had been dead for so many years, was rejuvenated with passion and vitality, and he turned around for Usopp, and he couldn't wait to directly rob someone on the spot and leave. You can beat me first. Usopp directly rejected Brother Min's proposal. Laozi is going to become a One Piece man. You are a Chi Wuhai who will be forcibly withdrawn from the group in 2 years, or wash and sleep. Bang bang bang. Okay, it's so decided, I defeat you, you will mess with me. Lost and confident Brother Ming. Okay. In 2 years you are waiting in Dressrosa, I'll go find you. Now let's get down to business. In 2 years, take the eldest prince and destroy your girl. After getting Usopp's affirmative answer, Brother Ming was suddenly in a much cheerful mood, and the bitter tea on the table became pleasing to the eye. But I want 30% of the profit. Business is business, it cannot be used as a favor, and Brother Ming is not soft when bargaining. It's impossible to have a maximum of 25%, just do it. Pull it down if it doesn't work. Usopp is also relatively tough. First of all, there is no shortage of money, and now he just wants to use Mingi's current power to open up sales channels and maintain security in the store. After all, the name of the Don Quixote family is still loud in the pirate circle. As for why the Revolutionary Army was not chosen, it was purely a long life, financial support for the underground party, known by the government's spy department, the first to die, and waiting for the Revolutionary Army to protect. Amuse. 28, 25, 27. 25, don't let it at all. Not at all. Good. Deal. Nice to work with. The two stood up, and the two hands of the big one and the small one clasped together. The two negotiated verbally, and did not sign any contract. The world strength of the pirates is the best guarantee, as for the contract and the like to sign is a joke. Talk about the medical expenses of my two families. The two sat down again, and Usopp poured 2 more cups of tea. Brother Ming, who was in a good mood, picked up the teacup and took a sip. The unexpected feeling was not bad. How about 100 million berry medical expenses for one person? Looking at the cooperative Mingo, Usopp also gave enough sincerity. Oh? Didn't my friend hear? These two are my family. Pirates like you, still care about this? Usopp asked rhetorically. You misunderstood, these two are my beloved relatives and brothers. And then? Gotta add money, your MMPs. Usopp sat on the edge of the cliff blowing the sea breeze, drinking tea. His expression was calm, holding a book of human body structures in his hand, turning a page from time to time. Usopp in the bottleneck has been relatively idle recently, and the accumulation of previous lives has been used almost the same, and the rest is solid ascetic study and re-entering the second round of accumulation. Waiting for a wave of strength to burst out after it is full, putting aside the daily basic practice, reading books, drinking tea, and blowing the wind have become Usopp's daily routine. Social idle, a little early to retire. Idle days, fucking fuck. Comfortable. However, except for Usopp, it seems that everyone has become busy people. Mingo and Kia have been busy with business expansion, supply sources, channels, materials, payment collection, customer statistics and maintenance, and most importantly, anti-corruption and integrity within the group. The two of them were almost busy with their feet, and Usopp threw a book to the two, personnel framework structure analysis and system management. Then he continued to drink tea leisurely, showing irresponsible performance, and the angry two jumped to their feet, almost joining forces to cut him. After negotiating cooperation with Mingo, Medusa developed rapidly, and in a few months he rolled out a stall in the New World, and the large amount of money also made Usopp feel that money became more and more boring, and maybe in a few years others asked him what he regretted the most. The last regret, that is, I opened the Medusa company, the best time was the day when there was no money, and now the space is empty. Maybe in the future, you can mix the title of Usopp Dad. As the backstage of Medusa, BSS Usopp also left a phone bug with Mingo to facilitate contact and exchange money-making tips by the way. The Don Quixote family is also very happy to collect money, and the new business line has brought different vitality to the family, and a large sum of berry has been credited, which often makes Ming wake up laughing in his dreams. In his heart, he also wanted to firmly grasp the wizard of Usopp in the palm of his hand, and for the sake of the agreement between the two, Brother Ming also rarely began to calm down to improve his strength. Hoping that Phineas' upgrade path would not be adjusted too hard, Usopp secretly prayed for Luffy in his heart after learning that brother was practicing penance. Seeing the rapid development of the family, Pika and the others also felt that their minor injuries were quite worthwhile, and the injuries were perfectly recovered under the treatment of the villain princess, leaving nothing. If there is a real sequelae, it is that the two of them now see Uri a little stunned. Even though Usopp mocked Pika's voice, Pika laughed and did not dare to be presumptuous. I have wronged you for the sake of the family. Ming patted Pika's shoulder and silently gave Pika a thumbs up. Brother Ming counted that the monthly income was more than the sum of his other projects, and he didn't need to fight to the death, he just needed to keep a polite smile and quietly enforce the law, and then wait for the stupid nobles and Draco to come to the door and come to the store like crazy to deliver money. In Medusa's shop, Mingo and his family experienced for the first time what it means to count money to hand cramps and what it means to pull a cart to deliver money. Immediately after Usopp launched another membership card system, ordinary members alone have to recharge 100 million berry, annual membership fees up to 10 million, but also to acquaintances to introduce it, but still not as good as those rich and rich crazy admiration. And the top members are simply a symbol of power, wealth. Doflamingo also expanded a lot of contacts for this. I don't know how many times, I almost couldn't help the greed in my heart, and wanted to directly kill Usopp, but Brother Ming is not a short-sighted person, think calmly or a long stream of money. The abundance of funds also made Doflamingo more confident in doing things. Compared to his other businesses, working with Medusa is simply perfect. Zero risk, high yield. Even coming to Medusa to see the store has become the most desirable and oily position in the family. A shopping guide, a security guard, can make the people below grab the head. Of course, there are also some small characters who are not very eye-opening, who will come to harass and rob, cut off people's wealth like killing parents, and do not need to give orders from Brother Min, and the people below have already gone up like mad dogs to bite fiercely. After several waves of brutal killings, everyone knew that Medusa's backstage was his seven-armed Doflamingo, although it felt like he was being used as a gun by Usopp, but as long as the money was in place, the rest was not important. When did money become so good to earn? Why are these brain wrecks lining up to deliver money? What exactly did I use to rob money for? Brother Ming is full of pathos, he just feels that he used to fight to death, played so many means, endured so many injustices, and after so many years of hard work, in the end it was more like a joke. Under the huge gap, it is inevitable that there will be a bit of a glass heart. This leisurely time allowed Usopp to put the Melee transformation plan on the agenda, not ready to make a big move, just to add a laboratory, and then separate a few single rooms, do sound insulation, and then transform the water and electricity. Usopp is a quiet person who also pays great attention to personal privacy, and the soundproof private room is the best choice, and you can also control the smell of the boat by the way. The equipment in the laboratory, with the help of Lao Tai and others, has been added, including the chemical test part, the storage part, and the arsenal machine tool part. Taking advantage of this idle time, the eldest cousin and others were rarely cared for by the boss, and forcibly gave them a special training in the society of that small group. After several tortures, the strength of the eldest cousin and others has also improved considerably, and it is no longer a problem to fight dozens of previous selves, and it is barely enough to leave Kia as a guard. Recently, the big housekeeper's mind has been much more active, and the cooperation with Brother Ming did not let him know and Usopp was also afraid that he would directly instigate him after he knew it, which would not be fun. Drinking tea and tasting the wind, two small boats gradually entered the eye, and Bucky's pirate flag fluttered on board. Huh. Say Sao Sao, Sao Sao will arrive. After several big wars, Usopp is also much more resilient. The road ahead is already open and acceptable. Seeing that the boat was about to dock, Usopp sorted out the tea set and decided to meet the future One Piece according to the plot. Usopp stood on the high slope and watched the three people get off the boat, and it was a really wonderful feeling, the protagonist of the comic book really standing in front of you. How to say it? Luffy is really dirty. As a brother in the fashion industry, Usopp feels that he has a very right to speak at this time. Blue pants, red vest, and a broken straw hat. Old peasants in the countryside did not dare to wear it like this. Solin's hair is really green, but although it is green, he looks very handsome, and he is not out of the mainstream. It is worthy of being the core of the combat power of the Straw Hat Regiment, and it is responsible for appearance. Nami is beautiful and boobsy. Ahem. Bad. Hey. Are you pirates? Usopp asked knowingly. Knowingly asking is not classified as lying by the heavenly Tao, and finally it can still make people speak. Well, my name is Mancha Daff, and I want to be the man of One Piece, Luffy rightfully replied. How does this feel? I don't know how to drip. How can the blood be a little on the head? It would be exciting if I were to be a Hokage man. What are the pirates doing on this island? I can't let you hurt the people here. Saying that, Usopp took an offensive stance. Do you want to do it? Be prepared to die. The gun in my hand is no ordinary product. Usopp pulled out the gun from his waist and pointed it at the two. Seeing Usopp's actions, Luffy and the two also became serious, and the condensed momentum rushed towards Usopp. Since you pulled out the gun, you have to block your life. That thing is not a bluffing toy. Luffy pointed to the gun in Usopp's hand and said solemnly. Solon also held the knife intently at this time. The blade was half unsheathed, his expression was focused, and he was ready to strike the knife at any time. Because the moment he pulled out a gun in Usopp and pointed it at the two of them, he felt a pure murderous aura, which was not the playful slingshot that Usopp had never seen the world in the original book. This is a real killing gun that can kill people at any time. Nami was a little nervous at this time, and she was even more disgusted with pirates in her heart. Pirates are really a profession that is not popular anywhere. It's not bad to be serious. It seems that Usopp can secretly rate the two in his heart in the future. You're Usopp. Luffy burst out laughing. I can't install it for a long time. How do you know? Knowingly asked X2. Your dad is Jesus BU, right? Because your cloth looks like a lot. You guess it at first sight. When I was little, I listened to him all day about you. Ha ha ha. Luffy's laughter caused Solon to let his guard down, put his knife back into its sheath, stand quietly to the side, and begin to wander. Nami also breathed a sigh of relief, finally not having to worry about the situation in case of death. Nami has not really killed anyone in so many years of theft, and if she kills Usopp because of the pirate's partner, then the hurdle in her heart will be even more unbearable. Oh? You know Jesus BU? Knowingly asked X3. Well, the red-haired pirates stayed in our town for a while, and I became friends with them. Luffy replied heartily. His eyes drifted to the left, as if reminiscing about those interesting days. At this point in the dialogue, Usopp withdrew his aggressive posture. Acting is an art. Fire is very important. Don't act too much. What are you here for in this town? Since you know my damn father, you can be considered friends. If not for the attack on the town, I will invite you to dinner. Targeted tactics can work very well. Eat, eat, eat. Immediately afterwards, appetite occupied the peak of Luffy's sanity. At the dinner table, Usopp, who had an emotional intelligence of 10,000, quickly reached a deal with several people. Your dad is really good at marksmanship, and he's an excellent pirate. Luffy's ability to eat and talk is also a must. Sooner or later I will give him a shot and avenge my mother. But I am very happy to meet you and let go of eating. You're welcome, we're friends. Usopp said indignantly. In that case, it's easy to say. I wonder if I can find a companion in your village who can steer a boat and get a big ship. Since they are acquaintances, Nami has also begun to be unpolite. Genima direct. Thousands of grass and mud horses in Usopp are galloping in his heart, and he doesn't know that there really is such a brazen person in the world. It feels quite interesting in the manga, but it is put in reality. Hee. Before we can say a few words, just ask me for a ship. It's like just getting acquainted with someone asking for a BMW. Looking at the words, I didn't plan to give money. Usopp thought that this was a good opportunity to join the group, God help me. Want a ship? With a partner who can sail a boat, right? Uh-huh. The three nodded frantically. Listening to Usopp's tone seemed to be dramatic. Gratitude, loved ones. I heard you want to be One Piece. I am the man who wants to be One Piece. Every time he talked about dreaming of Luffy, he was extremely serious, and even put down the meat in his hand. What about you? Chlorella head. I want to make my name sound in heaven and become a great swordmaster in the world. Wait a little, bastard. Say what about the head of aquatic algae, hacked to death? Do you believe it or not? Nami quickly grabbed Solon, who had already drawn his knife. What about you? Girl. Ignoring Solon's anger, he turned his head and asked Nami beside him. I'm going to make 100 million berry. Nami spoke with anticipation, hope, and a faint pain in her eyes. Wow. A One Piece, a big sword, and a small target. Not bad. At least you don't look like the kind of garbage pirates. It's a sloppy thing, but maybe that's the style of the Straw Hat. In that case, I would like to introduce you to a future world's #1 sniper. Dang dang dang. Usopp stood up, spun in a circle in place, and spread his hands to the sides. Wow. The world's #1 sniper. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Excited, Luffy turned his head around. Idiot. X2, Nami and Solon on the side covered their faces with their hands. Let me join. I'll find you a ship. How about Captain? Usopp changed his lazy attitude and stared at Luffy seriously. Okay. Luffy didn't hesitate. In fact, when Usopp was preparing to face the pirates alone on the coast and protect the town, Luffy and the two had already recognized him, plus they were acquaintances and had a clean life. That's it. I also made more than a dozen plans, and it didn't take much effort to get it. Sometimes Usopp wants to go to sea as a captain himself. It is a pity that Usopp, who has long been beaten by society, has long been exhausted of the agitated chicken blood in his heart. In my last life, it is good to say that starting a business is good, and losing at most ruins my family. If you lose in this life, the best outcome is to lack arms and legs. Looking back, I am lazy, unwilling but responsible, and there is no blood, with a bunch of little brothers at sea without a target blind. It is not interesting, and it is easy to be beaten. Lying down to win is not fragrant. And inexplicable fights Usopp does not like. Many years of quality education has been deeply rooted in Usopp's bones. Breaking the law and discipline is even more unlikely. Plus there is no shortage of money, and engaging in a pirate group is at most similar to the nature of the rich second generation playing tickets. As for making a revolution, overthrowing the world government, saving slaves, and destroying Draco, these ambitious things should be handed over to those majestic bigwigs, and Usopp, who died once, has long seen through. Someone once experimented that 8 minutes could turn an ordinary person into a bloodthirsty demon. That being the case, what else can be insisted on in this pirate world where the legal humanity has deteriorated? Maybe it's just a peace of mind. Although the world is chaotic, I walk alone, and peace of mind is home. In troubled times, it is enough to have peace of mind. Usopp actually looked down on those slaves. The older generation said that there has never been a savior, nor can he rely on the immortal navy to create his own happiness. He can only rely on himself. If you want to change your destiny, you can only rely on your own blood to fight and struggle. If you don't comply, do it, Thunder Gaba. This is also the fundamental reason why the Chinese nation can finally stand on the top of the world after several invasions. It is a pity that most slaves are still willing to live as long as they can live, but there is nothing to blame for the ants still stealing life. But I didn't have the heart to help them. Money. There is no shortage of Usopp, so the enthusiasm for treasures is not high, and the gorgeous scenery and fantastic adventures are not bad. However, what Usopp lacks the most is friendship. He likes One Piece. The biggest reason is not all kinds of superpowers, nor is it the right to control countless lives and deaths. Instead, he envied the friendship in One Piece, giving everything for his partner, a feeling that Usopp had never experienced in his previous life. Maybe he had never paid, or he was very selfish. Although Luffy is not very intelligent, he can't stand other parties. He is angry, his goals are firm, his decisions are decisive, he judges the situation, and he has deep roots. In addition to the Red Dog, the Navy is full of his own uncles and grandfathers. In the Top War, he took a bloody yellow sir with fake punches, the water-skiing Little Prince Chingji with realistic acting, and the warring states who frantically released water in order to take care of his 2 eldest nephews. One palm can seriously injure the entire Blackbeard pirates, and Luffy didn't lose a single hair, and he broke his own execution table, saying that he won't release water. Who believes? In Pirates, the 4 Emperors red-haired is the godfather, and the 4 Emperors whitebeard is the captain of his own brother. An extremely strong and terrifying force in the 7 Wuhai, a total of 11 before and after. As a result, Lao Sha fell to Alabastan, Moria fell to the 3-masted ship, and Mingo fell to Dressrosa. Later, Nanabukai Baki, who came to power, was beaten and flew as early as Orange Town and was defeated by Luffy. Shang is still Luffy's father's dragon's person. Luo and Jinping later became Luffy's allies, the other became Luffy's crew, and what is more absolute is that the female emperor simply wants to marry Luffy in place, and the entire Kiwu Sea is also Hawkeye's most honest position is not clear, and as a result, he finally became Salin's master. There are 2 Blackbeards and Whitebeard left, one pigeon released by the headquarters, and the other was released by the headquarters, and the Sengoku cried and confided with the old Marshal Gangbone Kong, quickly begged the 5 old men to abolish the 7 Wuhai. If I play like this again, I will almost become the captain of the Straw Hat Regiment 8 bands, and I will be Zhao Giao. What's more terrifying is Luffy's extremely strong innate white domineering, the so-called going out a bucket, teammates rely on picking it up. And Usopp, who knows the future deeply, does not dare to easily wrench the wrist with the way of heaven, precisely because he knows the future, he is afraid of it, dare not change easily, change the future at will, and let the future move in an unpredictable direction, that is the greatest irresponsible. If because of the absence of him, the strongest god of luck in the Straw Hats, the Straw Hat Group eventually leads to the destruction of the Straw Hat Group, the future pattern of the entire world changes to a more chaotic one, then the people who should have been saved die, and the world that was originally heading for peace will always go to destruction, which will bring a great burden to Usopp's heart, and the mud bodhisattva will cross the river. So no matter how you choose, following the group is the best choice for Usopp. Don't change the rhythm anyway is the right way, and with your own irresponsible wild daddy paving the way, the relationship between the two is inherently very harmonious. I have to say that Luffy's luck is also against the sky, and when you go out, you can get a green-haired SSR with $6, plus a yellow-haired smart silly by Tien. Now God Usopp brings a boat to the door automatically. Where to find this kind of good thing?
Brother Ming is still practicing hard there. You must know that Usopp automatically sent them up into such a weak chicken pirate group. Maybe it will directly open a group to rob people, recently or low-key.
The 2 major events of ship and people were finalized, so that several people happily opened the banquet, celebrated the new addition of the team, and took the opportunity to drink several bottles of Usopp's Tibetan wine. Usopp was ready to go to Koyata first, thinking of all kinds of wording, thinking about it and feeling a little embarrassed and a little irresponsible. Or tell Koya that he is going to work on the Great Route. All sorts of jumbled thoughts filled Usopp's mind. Unconsciously, he walked to Kia's side. Koya saw Usopp's excited greeting, and Usopp hugged Koya with a smile, and then closed the door. How come you have time to come over today? Kia asked softly. Come and see you. How is business doing lately? Usopp took the tea that Koya handed over, took a sip and asked. Fortunately, after everything has become normal recently, there are not so many things. Said to see me, as soon as I came, I asked about business. Koya hugged Usopp and pouted. Usopp sat on the special sofa, and Kia took off her shoes and leaned on Usopp's arms, talking carefully about the changes in business during this time. Usopp was surprised when he heard it, but he did not expect that in the past few days, the scale of the company has undergone earth-shaking changes, and the income has actually increased several times. It seems that the expansion is slowing down, and the scarcity of luxury goods is the most important, and the volume and pace of goods must be controlled. Found you, so you're here. Usopp, when will you take us to see the boat? Luffy asked as he hung on the tree trunk and dangled back and forth. It seems that the first thing Lao Su did when he got on the boat was to teach this monkey what is called politeness. Fortunately he didn't do anything out of line with Kia. Otherwise today would be the end of Luffy's pirate road. Usopp looked at the new captain hanging from the tree, his head bruised, and the chill in his eyes rushed straight at Luffy. No wonder Solon kept trying to hack him to death. Why did it suddenly get cold? What's going on? Excited by Usopp's fierce murderous aura, Luffy loosened his hand and smashed a pit on the ground. Luffy, who knew his loss, was standing under the tree, bearing this overwhelming education with his brows down, and was sprayed with saliva. Kia and the others on the side were snickering on the side. Maybe the movement was a little big, which alarmed the black cat Big Tube. The dignified housekeeper walked towards everyone with a high-class stride. No wonder it's so noisy, it turns out to be your son. How? Still a thief who wants to come to raise a relative. Want to take advantage of the absence of Kaya's parents to bully the eldest miss. I would never allow it. Son of a pirate. The elegant tone revealed the awe-inspiring righteousness, which made Luffy and the others angrily resist the idea of punching the big butler on the spot. Please don't come to this house. Dirty pirate bloodlines are not welcome here. Still elegant, still proud. The palm of his right hand pushed the glasses. Trabatel. Usopp was scolded and made Koya very angry. This is the lover who her parents approved and signed the marriage contract, and although no one knows about the marriage contract, it is not a reason to be humiliated. Even the great butler who is excellent to her will not work. Miss Kia. Associating with this dirty bloodline will bring shame to the family, and I won't allow them to approach here. The firm and honest tone almost made Usopp believe it, but Usopp didn't care about being scolded, and there was nothing to worry about with someone who was going to die. Oh. Interesting. Whether we come to this house or not is not for you to decide, as if you are the master, you are just a housekeeper. Why do you still want to go to heaven? Saying that you are a dog owned by the Kia family is considered to lift you up. Never mind. What is angry with the dog, gone. Returning his hand, he patted Kia's little head affectionately and led Luffy and the others out of the compound. Before leaving, it also stimulated the nerves of the big butler. Soon I was the real host here. Wait and see. In a place where no one can see, the big butler's face is hideous, his forehead is bruised, and the fists in his hands are clenched tightly. A few people came out and happened to meet and came to find Usopp's eldest cousin. Boss, there is a weird man in town today, walking backwards, wearing a strange sunglasses, and I don't know if it's the person you let us pay attention to. That's right, it's him. Keep an eye on me. Usopp ordered. Now the actors have arrived, and you can go to sea with confidence after tomorrow's battle. Okay, big brother, just wrap it around me. After receiving the task, the happy cousin disappeared in front of everyone's eyes with a rush. Positive little brothers are always loved. Luffy didn't know why, and looked at Usopp with questioning eyes. The ship will take you to see it tomorrow. There is something important today. The big butler is not a good bird. Today I will follow the big butler to see what he is going to do. You can follow along if you're okay, but be careful not to be discovered, or go to my house to rest. Usopp arranged casually. No need to rest. We're okay. X3, as part of the team, several people obviously want to know more about Usopp and this partner who will share life and death in the future. Looking at the burning flames in the eyes of the three, Usopp's whole person was buried by the black line. What do you want to do? Luffy must have found tracking exciting and fun. What is Solon for? Repay those bottles of good wine. Nami? Maybe it's just plain gossip, right? Alas. The team is not easy to bring, and the deputy captain training plan seems to be on the agenda. Tracking was boring and time-consuming, especially when exposed to the sun, and after the initial freshness had passed, Luffy was already impatient, and the scorching sun made Luffy a little listless. Nami even regretted a little. How can a girl's skin be exposed to the sun? It's too unami. Usopp didn't feel anything, and controlling the slippery fruit could slide some of the photons that hit his body away, keeping himself at a comfortable temperature at all times. Looking at Luffy, who was still patient, Usopp on the side was amazed, but he didn't expect that Luffy, who had just gone to sea, actually had patience. It seems that you really can't underestimate the world, even if it looks like a fool. The hard work did not live up to the hard work, and the patience of several people was not in vain, and while the servants were eating and resting, the elegant black cat butler quietly left the big house and walked towards the beach alone. The tail line team began to act. A few people quietly followed behind the big butler. Originally Usopp's sight and smell auxiliary electromagnetic waves could easily cover the entire island, but in order to increase the sense of game participation, he still chose to track this not very safe and old-fashioned way. More than pretending, hiding is the most important thing. After coming to this world, Usopp has always lacked enough security, and one more hole card is one more confidence. Usopp has always believed that wisdom should be ranked above ability, and no matter what kind of bugs the ability is aware of, it can be easily targeted. Just like the original Usopp, although the strength is average, it can always save the team at a critical time, and the cow that Koya bragged about is finally a little round. Just like Batman, an ordinary super rich man, at most a little more physically fit. It is because of enough understanding of the enemy's abilities, through the use of their own wisdom and banknote abilities, to beat all the superpowers in the DC universe. The poor rely on mutation, the rich rely on technology. This is definitely not a joke to talk about. Powerful people may not have wisdom, but wise people must have extraordinary strength. Therefore, the hole cards must be well hidden, which is the foundation of long-term vision in this chaotic world, and it is easy to be targeted if it jumps too much. Although there are not many masters in the early stage, you still have to keep a low profile. Don't inexplicably fan your little wings and attract some unnecessary storms. The Mingo thing is a living example. It looks good now, but it's still too reckless. When Luffy hits Brother Ming is definitely not the original strength. As for that, then it depends on fate. Wait for the three main combat forces of the team to assemble. Rising strength is already imminent. Ideographic period on the shore. The big butler has already raised his head with Zan. Hey Zango. I already told you not to attract attention in this village. You are still walking backwards in the town, and you are still sleeping in the middle of the town. The big butler said ruthlessly. He couldn't suppress the anger in his heart for this subordinate who wanted to spoil his good deeds. Usopp understood a truth in his last life. In fact, people do not hate bad guys, people hate stupid people. And Zangao is undoubtedly an excellent idiot. Less nonsense, I'm not noticeable at all, and it's not surprising. Zangao explained calmly. Where does this weird guy come from with confidence? Luffy and Usopp looked at each other. Who is this weird guy? Luffy asked, glaring. In his eyes of disbelief, it seems that there are people in the world who are stupider than me. Zango. Usopp replied succinctly, pushing Luffy's head back into the grass. You can't lie, you can't expose your understanding of the future, it's really troublesome, and it's a lot of mistakes. That's awesome. How do you know? Luffy looked at Usopp with starry eyes. Idiot. Didn't you call your name just now? What the hell are your ears listening to? Nami had a black line on her face. This captain, should I get off the ship? But Bahoho killed me. Hoo-hoo-ha. Turning his head to look at Solon, who was already asleep. Can this also fall asleep? The corner of Usopp's mouth twitched, and suddenly he didn't have much hope for the pirate group. Never mind. Ignoring him, several people continued to stare at the big butler at the bottom of the cliff. The underground joints continue. The plan is ready, right? The big butler raised his wrist and asked gloomily, his narrow eyes telling a full of gloomy tricks. Of course. Ready to act at any time. Miss Assassination Plan. The name of the plan is so pronounced. An unqualified underground worker, not professional at all. Usopp called a layman and gave a big bad review in his heart. Don't use such ugly words as assassination, Zango. The big butler's reproachful tone was a little proud. Ah, yes, it's an accident, right? Zangao corrected his less congruous wording. Underscore. The problem is not to kill her, but to let Miss Kia die in an unfortunate accident, don't be mistaken. The great butler continued to correct Zango's perception. In short, just follow your signal and brothers to attack the village and solve the eldest miss. Then it's up to you to inherit the eldest miss's legacy. At this time, the big housekeeper, who has always been known for his elegance, has a young brain. How can he regret it a little? Throwing flattery with the blind and wasting youth. What a brainless fool. How can I inherit Koya's inheritance as an outsider? The big housekeeper forcibly endured the murderous aura in his heart, and he was about to succeed, calm. Then you have to work hard to inherit it. The natural tone completely angered the big butler. What about my 1-meter long knife? Is this something that can be successful with hard work? Listen, this step is the most important thing. Before killing her, you have to use hypnosis to make Koya write a will. Write that I will leave all my possessions to the steward of Krabatel so that I can successfully inherit that inheritance of an impossibly large inheritance, natural and undisputed. Understand, stupid. It took me 3 years to gain the trust of the people around me to create this situation, and it's not surprising that I left a will like that. If you dare to make a mistake, then that day will also be your time to die. The big butler resisted the urge to kill Zangao and patiently explained seriously. This plan was a turning point in his life, no matter how much he paid attention to it, no matter how careful he was. It's really shocking that a person like you can be a housekeeper for someone else for 3 years, Captain Chloe. Zangao didn't care about his captain's threat in the slightest. Was it over? Is there anyone else who can fight on this little fart island? The big butler didn't know if the big brother in front of him listened to it. Forget it. Let it be fate. Big deal. If it fails, let these guys plan the funeral. 3 years ago, you found someone to replace you and left the pirate circle. That is the beginning of this plan. It is worthy of 100 Chloes. Zangao, who has an emotional intelligence of -800, continues to tease on the brink of death. Stop calling me that name. I dropped that name 3 years ago. I hope to get a lot of money without being hunted down by the government. In other words, I'm a pacifist. I knew I should have gone out with a knife today. Ha ha ha. What kind of pacifism is this? For the sake of his own peace, he would actually kill the rich family. Hey, don't talk nonsense. Be careful to sue you for slander. His father's death has nothing to do with me, even I didn't expect it. Forget it. It's not important. You are a signal. Our ship is parked nearby. It has been almost a week. The brothers were almost impatient. The conversation between the two gradually came to an end, and the general plan was often clear, for fear that others would not understand. Luffy, several people had deep doubts in their eyes. Kill? Heritage? What the hell is talking about below? Doesn't seem very good. Luffy turned to ask Usopp beside him. You're not listening to that all the time. Captain 100 Crow is still alive, and I heard that he used to be the smartest and most cruel guy among the pirates. He was reportedly arrested and executed by the Navy 3 years ago. This guy actually had a blind eye to the property of the Kia family 3 years ago, and it seemed that the village was about to be attacked, and Kia was also in danger. Carefully consider the wording while saying it. Don't accidentally offend the Tao of Heaven. After speaking, Usopp, who looked calm, breathed a sigh of relief in his heart, and the story was finally on track, and somehow Usopp's heart suddenly overflowed with a sense of old father's gratification. Without waiting for Usopp to experience this warm feeling of relief for a few minutes, Luffy on this side suddenly stood up. He yelled at the bottom, "Hey, you are not allowed to attack the eldest lady. Bad butler." This too stunned. Usopp and Nami looked at each other, looking at Luffy, who forcibly opened the group with a shocked expression. Oh. Who wants to fight? Hearing Luffy's roar, Solon, who had been sleeping for half a day, pulled his eyelids and pulled his knife out of its sheath, looking around for an opponent. The big housekeeper saw that Usopp and the others did not pay attention to it, and the 100 Crow, who have been invincible in the East China Sea for a long time, are still afraid of a few little fart children. Amuse. A few unseen raw faces, a big talk king with pirate blood, no one believes it. It does not affect that plan. When the interests are guaranteed, the Black Cat butler has always been noble, elegant and peaceful. Huh. Isn't this Usopp? Have you heard anything? The big butler had a shame on his face that he had been cheated on. He was actually followed by a group of people, and he really wanted to kill him. Forget it, at this time, you can't cut corners. Heard it all. Usopp, who didn't know what to say, quietly watched Luffy play alone with Nami and the others. Deal with it, I'll go back first. After the great butler finished instructing Zango, he turned and walked in the direction of the big house. Friends above, please take a closer look here. While speaking, Zango took out an iron ring out of nowhere and placed it in front of everyone. When you hear me say 1 or 2 Zango, you will pass out. 1 2 Zango. Woohoo, Luffy, woohoo, Solon, woohoo, Zango. Usopp, who saw this scene in reality, was still shocked. What kind of mythical beast is this? The first time I saw such an outrageous hypnotism of Chang, and a hypnotist who could hypnotize himself together. Boom. Luffy smashed his head down, while Solon lay on the ground and slept. Zango has been kicked awake by the big butler and taken away. Usopp picked Luffy up from the bottom of the cliff and stood side by side with Solon, quietly waiting for the two masters to wake up, also waiting for tomorrow's battle. Koya didn't actually know the true identity of the butler, and Usopp never told her. Kia is a kind and simple girl, pure in mind and yearning for light. Inheriting a huge family business at a young age, she lacks enough understanding of the dangers of the world, and the big butler is a life lesson that Usopp left to Koya before going to sea. Locke's care for Kia over the years can be said to be meticulous, and Locke is a little like Jarvis to Iron Man, Alfred to Batman, deep feelings and deep trust. The betrayal of loved ones is the biggest pain in the world. Usopp is to use this pain to break the innocent side of Kia. People must be injured to be silent and focused, whether it is mental or physical trauma. The road to growth is never smooth. Excessive protection is sometimes a kind of injury. As the family's business is getting bigger and bigger, the people who join in the future must have any forces and thoughts, and now Kia's character is really difficult to control, and it is certainly unrealistic to make her give up the family business, but under Kia's weak appearance is actually a perseverance. And Huhei is not something that can be integrated simply by talking, but it is still necessary to understand a little bit in the practice of mistakes and pain. Chloe, as a small boss who has experienced in the early stage, can still be used, and the strength is also moderate. After experiencing the death of her parents, coupled with her own assistance, she should be able to control the degree in Kia's heart, and the rest of the seed planting depends on her own choice in the future. Of course, distress must be distressed, but young birds always have to rely on their own strength to fly. And only when Kyoxin really becomes stronger, coupled with the protection of his eldest cousin and Lao Tai and others, Usopp can really go to sea with peace of mind, without worrying about a fire in the backyard and theft of his hometown. Idiographic period. The two immortals slept until 5:30 in the afternoon, and Luffy, who missed 2 meals, was actively making up for the meal, grabbing a steak in his left hand and nibbling on a roasted thigh in his right hand. Solon seemed to be obsessed with Usopp's hidden wine, and I don't know if he was afraid that he would not have to drink it when he went back to sea, and after waking up, he drank several bottles in a row. In terms of the alcohol content of the pirate world, looking at Solon's alcoholism, Usopp felt that it was very necessary to steam out the second pot and educate Solon. A few people were eating while discussing tomorrow's plans, and the fight was definitely going to hit. The matter of joining the group of Usopp is the affairs of the entire pirate group, and Luffy and Solon, who protect their partners' homes, are also responsible. Looking at Luffy and Solon, who were eating and drinking, Usopp suddenly felt that he was not so weak in using these two goods. First of all, it is still necessary to divide the troops, and Usopp follows the big butler to protect Kia. After the Black Cat pirates landed, in order not to disturb the normal life of the townspeople, Luffy and Solon had to go to the shore early to wait to help stop the minions. Why don't you explain it to everyone and directly expose the true face of the butler? Nami asked suspiciously. First, in order to reduce unnecessary trouble, it is necessary to let the big butler expose himself. Let Koya recognize the true face of this person herself. Second, the townspeople here are simple, and I still hope that my hometown can retain its purity and beauty, so don't disturb their peaceful life all along. After all, this is my beloved place, and I can do the dirty work of fighting pirates. Don't tell them you're fighting for them? Solon asked tentatively. Ha ha ha, we are evil pirates, bad guys come. What heroes are rushed? This question amused Usopp. I agree with that. Heroes want to give meat to others, I don't want to be a hero. Luffy said vaguely as he chewed on chunks of meat in his mouth. The captain with a head full of meat, a lustful ghost cook, a big sword who loves to drink, and a navigator who is extremely greedy for money. This pirate group is the first to gather the wine-colored wealth, but unfortunately it can't summon the dragon. Usopp complained in his heart. Being there and watching the anime are completely two feelings. Solon on the side did not continue to drink, and his strong self-control told him to keep himself in good shape for tomorrow's battle. After arranging his tasks, Usopp began his own day's practice. Luffy and several people looked at the flickering thunderlight on Usopp's body. Their faces were solemn, and they really recruited a great guy. It was also a calm and unusual night, and Usopp and Luffy and the others set off after dinner, and Luffy was happier and ate 3 meals in a row. Leaving everyone, Usopp came to the big house alone, and has been stealthily guarding the sleeping Kaya. This is just to make a double insurance and prevent the big housekeeper from making a mistake and doing something irrational. A safe night, except for the Black Cat housekeeper Chloe in the middle of the night, carrying a handbag into the bedroom for a while. The werewolf did not kill, the witch did not save people, the town at dawn was calm, and the pirates who said they were attacking did not appear. Depressed to the extreme, Chloe decided to go to the beach to see, and if he stayed any longer, he might directly attack his dear Miss Kia, and the result would be less beautiful and not very harmonious. This group of bastards actually dares to disobey my orders. If there is no valid reason, they will be all slaughtered in a while. Usopp saw that Locke who left, and did not react. Locke's strength was just a scum for Luffy and the others, there was nothing to worry about. Going to bed early and getting up early is a very good habit, especially this good habit appears in a pampered eldest lady, so that Usopp, who has been hidden next to him, has reaped a wave of good benefits, and the holy light in his eyes almost made Usopp's fruitability not maintained. This beautiful feeling lasted until Kia was shocked to find Meili's little butler who had fallen in a pool of blood. Listening to the weak Meili exposed Chloe's true face, Kia looked incredulous. For Kia, this is too sudden. The person he has always trusted the second is actually a pirate who wants to seize his family's property. The afternoon before he called Usopp a dirty pirate blood, and the person who went to bed in the morning turned into a vicious pirate himself. Is this a joke? Usopp originally wanted to save Meili, but when he saw that Meili was sensed, it was just when he suffered some skin trauma that looked serious. And the effect of blood on the ground is also more convincing. You have to do a full set to do the play, and give more compensation to the loyal Meili in the future. It just happened to let him sit on the throne of the great butler. Meili is a person who has been concerned by Usopp for a long time, and a qualified housekeeper must not only have ability, but also have a grateful faithfulness, but also contentment, able to overcome external temptations and greed. There is no doubt that Meili is a qualified butler at the same time, and Locke's battle is not only a valuable life lesson for Kaya. but also Usopp's final test for melee. Knowing the original work can only be used as a reference for information, and cannot really be used to completely copy it from God's point of view, and the changes in human nature are elusive for any wise man. From Usopp's point of view, as well as the consideration of Kia's safety and business stability, no amount of consideration and testing for the core position of Big Butler can be overstated. After today, Mei Li also soared into the sky, but Ya hurriedly bandaged Mei Li, but I didn't expect that Kia, who did this for the first time, actually did a good job. Originally, it was because he thought that in case Usopp training was injured, he could be bandaged and treated. So in addition to learning about the family business in the past few years, Kia also studied part-time. I didn't expect it to really come in handy today. Chloe's betrayal made Koya both sad and angry. If years of love turned into a glass of bitter wine, anger is that Chloe seriously hurt Mei Li. By the way, turn over the old account of yesterday's scolding of Usopp and go. From Mei Li's mouth, she knew all of Chloe's Gia, and did not go to Usopp for help. She knew that the strength of a person to face such a pirate group is just a drop in the bucket. There is no chance of victory, it is better to die alone than everyone together, and the determined Kia ran to the beach alone with his hand. This silly girl. Do you want to die alone? Protect yourself and the people of the town? This strong personality gave Usopp a headache, and he could also feel that Koya wanted to face danger alone. In addition to the warm love in his heart, there was also a hint of killing intent for Beiji Chloe. Such a kind girl has to deceive, and killing is unforgivable. Koya and Usopp rushed ashore just in time for the speech of the great black cat pirate captain Chloe. Koya on the slope looked at it in shock. Chloe and a group of fierce and vicious people under the coast, but with cat's ear hair ornaments, as well as Luffy and others who met yesterday. In addition to fear, there was also this big doubt. And Chloe, who saw Kia appear, felt that there was a huge flaw in his plan, but the prey was embarrassed to send it to the door. Order Zangao to deal with Koya first. As for what Koya said about killing her and letting go of the person below, Chloe ignored it. He is an evil pirate. Even if he wants to retire, he is a pirate. How can he leave these hidden dangers? The whole battle scene is very unfavorable. Luffy is crushed under a keel that he broke and sleeps, and Nami is preparing to rescue him. Solon alone is facing the entire Black Cat pirate group, and is still suffering minor injuries under the hypnotized Catman brothers. Nami and Solon were already a little anxious when they saw Chloe, who came to the rescue, and they were worried about whether something happened to Usopp, until they saw Koya's arrival without Usopp's figure, and they were more sure of their thoughts. It's time to hurry up and make a quick decision, Solon tied his head and said seriously. Nami's side also found an opportunity and rushed to Luffy, who was crushed under the keel. After Zangao discovered Nami's intentions, she also reacted instantly, and couldn't let her wake up the little monster. Otherwise no one present except Captain Chloe could beat it, and the hypnotic ring in his hand cut a graceful arc and slashed towards Nami's skull. This can only be regarded as a very general attack in the pirate world, except for being able to cut down several uncles at once, but for Nami's attack power, it can definitely flatten her skull, and there are no burrs. Just as it was too late, Nami finally stepped on Luffy with one kick. Luffy, who was woken up by this unfriendly way, got up very angry, and just about to yell out his dissatisfaction with Nami after pulling down Nami, and then was headshot by the hypnotic ring. Fortunately, Luffy is strong. This kind of attack that is relatively powerful for Nami, in Luffy's opinion, it is not even a general attack. Looking at the situation at the scene made Usopp feel a little guilty, although the situation is similar to the original, but the truth always seems to be insincere. Only to make up for it later, underscore.